Back in January 2020, I was watching those fitness transformations, right? So they go from a twig to a full pro bodybuilder in like 3 years. And after watching a video, I kept on reducing the time span of the transformation. So when I searched up for a new video, I went from searching 3 year transformation to 1 year to 6 months to eventually I was seeing people make massive progress in 3 months. Obviously at the time, I don't know, everyone was on like a kilo of train a day, right? But I was impatient. I think my inspiration for this was seeing people in my high school 2 or 3 years older than me that were popping out of their shit and wanting to experience that. I'd say that you're probably like me. You probably wanted to get jacked as soon as possible. And I know if you watched those 6 month dirty bulk transformations. But to answer your question, there's your answer right there. 2 to 3 years. If you start at a normal point, getting jacked as a brown guy with disciplined training should take you 2 to 3 years. And you'll become the guy where literally everyone around you knows that you work out. So you know how long it takes. But one thing I want to ask you is ask yourself, why do you want to become jacked? Deep down, it's to feel better, right? To gain respect and admiration from other people or to even feel proud of yourself. You want to fix a pain point. But the deeper that your pain is at the start, the more ground you can make up. This is such an important concept that you have to know for anything that you're trying to improve in your life. That the lower you start out with, it seems obvious, right? The lower that you start out with, the more ground you have to make up. It's like those cringe like Instagram motivational quotes. But the point of this is that you'll feel a bigger change in your life when you start out at a lower point, when you start out lower than normal. The thing is, you feeling better as a result of being jacked is entirely dependent on your mind and how you think about yourself. This is gonna get pretty deep for a YouTube fitness video, but if you start at a lower point and make a ton of progress, you'll feel mentally way better than someone who already started at a high level. Like your athletic white friend, your athletic black friend still looked fit before going to the gym. You going from skinny fat to fit now is a way bigger jump in how you see yourself than your friend going from fit to a bit fitter now. Bringing it back to your pain points, you're probably in more pain than someone with better genetics. But that means that you can make a bigger difference. You can feel a bigger difference in your emotions from getting jacked. You taking 2 or 3 years and getting jacked is a good thing because it's going to be way more worth it in the end and you'll feel way better about it. One more thing is, don't get annoyed by the fact that I told you it takes 2 to 3 years, right? A lot of people will say that, oh, it takes way too long to get jacked. It's not worth it. Mate, you're going to do this for the rest of your life. So it doesn't really matter how long it takes. Obviously, you want the short-term benefits. I get that. You'll get the short-term benefits in like probably 1 year. You'll look a lot better than you did before. And in 2 to 3 years, you become the jack guy. But I'm saying that there's people that want to get the whole benefits of being jacked in like 12 months, which is not going to happen. And that shouldn't be a problem because you're going to do this until you're like 80, 90, 100, 150. I don't know how long you're going to live for. But you're going to do this for the rest of your life. So it doesn't matter how long it takes to get the long-term benefits. And you get the short-term benefits in a year anyway. Now, back to the practical advice. 2 mistakes I made were not being consistent with my diet and to a lesser amount, not being consistent with my training. So with my diet, I've said this in other videos. I would just eat junk food straight after school. I would cope myself into thinking that, oh, it's for the bulk, right? It's for to build my muscles, to build strength. I would train hard these same days while I'm eating like a pack of junk food a day, but I would cope myself into eating that trash processed food into thinking that this is somehow good for my health. This is somehow good for building muscle. Pretty much just don't do what I did. I already have a video on how to bulk up healthily if you want to do that. Learn from my mistakes is the message I'd give you. Another point I had is, to a lesser extent, I wasn't consistent with my training. So in a 10-week block, I'd probably train like, let's say 7, 8 weeks out of the 10 weeks. I train consistently, right? Like whatever amount I scheduled in, let's say 4 or 5 days a week, I'd do that. But then I would take, for a 3-week period, I'd work out like once a week for those 3 weeks. So that probably hindered my progress a bit. Not as much as the diet thing, right? The diet thing was the big thing that stopped me from making the most progress. But to a lesser extent, me not being consistent in my training was a reason why. Those 2 reasons are why I could have gotten here faster. But the main thing I want you to take away from this video is, you want to get jacked as soon as possible because you're trying to fix a pain point that you have. But you don't know that you starting out at a lower level is better for you than starting out at a high level, because now you'll feel a bit bigger difference mentally in how you see yourself. You starting out, forcing me to do a diagram here, bro. You starting out, this is getting a bit mathematical, yeah? That's a normal distribution of everyone, right? So that's half the people. That's a 50%. Most people are in here, right? Two thirds of the population is in here. Is getting extremely mathematical for a fitness video, but stay with me. 2/3 of the population are in here, right? 95% of people are in here. Let's say you start out here. This is your fitness progress. You start out at the 40th percentile of fitness. So you're a bit below average. You're like, and the average is not that good, right? The average is like skinny fat. So you're a bit more skinny fat than average, but nothing crazy. You going from the 40th to the 70th percentile, better than 70% of the population here. You're in a pretty good spot here. This is like skinny fat, yeah? And this is like, you're like borderline fit now, right? You going from here to here is a way bigger jump in how you feel than your friend making the same amount of progress. Let's say that's 5 kilos of muscle, right? 5 kilos of muscle takes you from skinny fat to fit. That's the same. That would have the same impact as your friend going from the 70th to probably not even that much to the 80th. You making that 5 kilos of muscle makes a way bigger difference in your life than your friend making the exact same progress of 5 kilos of muscle going from the 70th to the 80th percentile, starting at a higher baseline of being fit. So keep in mind that it doesn't matter where you start. With the correct amount of work, you can end up pretty much anywhere. You're not really limited by much other than genetics, but you can't imagine yourself at your genetic peak, right? Don't worry about your genetic peak. Just know that if you put in enough, it sounds cliche, like a mum quote, but if you put in enough work, you're going to get whatever result you want if you're disciplined and put in the work. So that's my message. It takes 2 to 3 years of working hard to become jacked. Thanks for watching.